we talked a lot about the cloud adoption, right? And one of the things that we found very early on is the pandemic started, we assumed that a significant number of organizations were probably just going to stop doing anything. And some did, right? They just stopped spending money. But there were a lot of organizations that were like, well, we were planning on going to the cloud anyway, and we really need to do this. So let's go ahead and spend the money. And this whole thing got accelerated where people were kind of waiting to go to the cloud, waiting for their hardware warranties to expire, or waiting to see what the next thing was going to be before they committed to it. And now we've had this rush of people moving all of their infrastructure into cloud environments, whether that's public clouds like Microsoft's Azure or their 365 solution, or AWS for Amazon solution, or the Google Cloud, or moving their infrastructure into on-premise solutions, right? Or into co-location solutions as part of private cloud systems where they stand up a rack of servers at a colo and move all their stuff so that they can get it out of their offices, because people aren't in those offices like they used to be. And it doesn't make sense for them to stay there, especially when you look at what happened with Texas and our emergency
the deep
power
freeze
situation.
of 2021.
A lot of organizations are really kind of questioning whether or not they want to keep their infrastructure in their office buildings when most of their staff is remote. So there's another large push that you see, which happens sometimes after a really bad hurricane here in Texas. People
they'll have that 3-month push of, hey, let's fix this. And then it gets expensive and the weather has passed. I just don't think that we're going back. We're at new. Like they've made this investment over the last year to move more and more to cloud-based software, cloud-based email, cloud-based everything, in order to better facilitate that connectivity with remote workers not being in the office. That only helps during a natural disaster such as Snowmageddon or Hurricane Harvey or whatever we've experienced in the Texas market over the last 5 years. So I don't think we go back, but what is that new normal? What is that next step in evolution for these organizations as you have staff saying, hey, things are opening back up. I've got my vaccine. I want to go back in the office. Kinda. And I think our informal poll of even our team is people are eager to see each other in person. We're seeing more and more of it. But there's also this desire to not sit in rush hour traffic for 3 hours a day out of your life.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think part of it too is, as we look at this adoption strategy, there were a lot of organizations that prior to the pandemic that were providing these services, whether that's Microsoft or whether it was Zoom or even AWS, like they had development cycles that were pretty aggressive for adoption. Like Microsoft's Power BI and Microsoft's 365 product were coming out with a lot of new features. Their product development cycle blew through the roof over the last 6 months as people became dependent upon these products and the resiliency of the infrastructure there. And so a lot of organizations have found that the limitations that they thought would be there to moving their stuff into the cloud, whether that's a compliance problem, whether that's a functionality problem, whether that's we just don't want to take the time to teach our staff how to work with these new tools, all that's gone because these new products have been developed in such a way where they're now way more robust. They're way more secure. Oh, and by the way, people have been working mostly remote for the last year anyway. So everybody's kind of already adopted it.
They've gotten used to it. There's no going back. Where can we go from here?